What's happening, champions? It's Leonardo DiCaprio. I could be out banging models, but I'm here listening to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. I promise you're not missing out on banging hot models. It's so much more satisfying just listening to Nick and Steve, I promise.
I wonder if he pinky promises, you know.
He's in a position where he could say something like that. Like, yeah, hot models, whatever. Enjoy this podcast, man.
Right, yeah, they'll be there tomorrow. You know, yeah, you got to jump on The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve when it arrives. And we give you 2 episodes each and every week. Thanks for being a part of this one.
Right. And that's my supermodel philosophy, too. You got to jump on them when the moment arrives. So, you know.
You're lucky you got one as a girlfriend, dude. So.
Certainly super. You can find our website. It's thevocalminority.net. That is a thing. But yeah, social media stuff. All the good times are happening there. We're on the Twitter. We're on Instagram, Threads, Reddit, Facebook. But YouTube, that's a good one. And TikTok. That's our personal favorite. We love the Chinese here.
Yeah, we love China. Tell them about that comment line. See if you can sell it better than I do.
I'll do my best.
And go.
So here's the deal, everyone. This started off as a call-in radio talk show. We used to be on in little markets across the country. We were on in Seattle. We were on in Baltimore. And we had a phone number. You would call, and we would put you on the airwaves. It was fun. It was interactive. So we're trying to bring that back. So we have a comment line. You can call. You can leave a comment. We'll put your voice on the radio podcast thing here. It's fun. It's interactive. So give us a call. You got to use a telephone. It's 844-48-VOCAL. You then will record your voice. My freaking dad, when he had an answering machine, this was his message for years.
Okay.
Hi, this is Jay. I am not at home right now, but if you leave a message, your voice will actuate the tape. Which what is actuate? I don't even know what that freaking means. Like, did he mean activate? Actuate? Like, he explained how the recording process was working. Was
so funny, dude. The magnetic tape will run itself across the heads. Your voice will magically be recorded. Yeah. Answering machines. Like, do you even leave a message hardly at all anymore?
No. I mean, not in this day and age. I figure you see the missed call. Like, what? I can't tell you how many people, too. They're like, hey, my dad's one of them. He's like, did you listen to the message before you called me? I'm like, no, I'm just calling you back. What is it?
Right. Yeah. I hate the messages that are like, please leave your name, your number, the time you called, the reason you called. Like, I got all that, dude. I know all that.
Yeah. It's not really new information, but I appreciate you walking me through the process and explaining the technical of how the tape will record your voice.
I can see your dad doing it, though.
So you can call 844-48-VOCAL. And on our various social media sites, you can just comment, because that's what people really like to do in this day and age. A lot of keyboard warriors out there, you know?
A lot of keyboard warriors. Here we are, moving into the end of life as we know it. This is called Summertime is Fading Away, and my depression is already starting to settle in a little bit and get me comfortable for the winter. I can't do it anymore, Steve. I can't do the winter here anymore. I can't.
So when we're moving into the end of life, are you talking about our age, or just that's how you're feeling as fall is upon us?
Yeah, dread, doom. I mean, all these things. Life is seriously going to change. It's already getting darker earlier, which I hate. And then when I wake up in the morning, it's dark for 3 hours. Like, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah. I like fall. Fall's a good season. I have a lot of good positive associations with it. But yeah, I have noticed now that I get to ride my dirt bike all the time, that I can just ride from the house. Over the summer, 8:30, that was my mark. Now it's hitting that mark at like 7, and I know it's just going the other way. So
I don't know, dude. I mean, it's always been depressing for me. I remember being in school as a kid, and I always felt then it was because summer was ending, and I had 3 months off to play and hang with my friends, and now I was going back to school. It always gave me a pit in my stomach, and I would start to get really down. I shouldn't call it depressed, but really down. And as I get older, I really do think it gives me some sort of seasonal depression, you know.
It's possible. It's a real thing. You got to put one of those light masks on, I guess. That's what they say.
I got to move, dude. I want to move. I want to get somewhere where it's nice and sunny.
A little more extreme remedy, I suppose. But, yeah, that's an option for you.
Yeah. Well, until then, I'll just, get one of the lights. I'm going to do a vacation or two over the winter to somewhere nice.
Northern Nevada is very nice. Come visit.
It's always nice, you lucky bastard. I mean, you guys always have sunshine. Hey, you know what's funny? First of all, you're my best friend. Like, I would consider you beyond that my smartest friend. Like, if I want to know something, and I mean, everybody's got their categories, right? Like, if there's certain things I want to talk to my brother about because he's really intelligent in these areas. Yeah. So it's nice to have smart friends. It's like having an encyclopedia that talks back to you, right?
It's interesting. Do you feel I've earned that title? Is it just the glasses?
Well, I feel like you think about things a lot deeper than I do. And if I am instructed to destruct something and kind of tear it apart and look into it, I can do that. But you think a lot about everything. Well, most things, you know what I mean?
It's true. It's a bit of a burden, quite frankly. But
Totally, dude. Yeah, I don't envy you over that, but it's very useful because I think that, you look at things from all the angles, and I appreciate getting to talk to someone with that ability.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm an overthinker, and Kennedy has come to appreciate that in me. Others have not always, and yeah, it's a little bit of a burden. I feel like my brain's always kind of flowing and working, but it does work well for things like, our radio career and podcasting. Like some of these things that they blurt out because I've been thinking them over and over for months or weeks or years or whatever. So they're ready to go.
Yeah, I may have an attraction to people that overthink. And my wife is an overthinker. All the time she's overthinking. You know how she goes to bed, dude? I mean, she reads before she goes to bed, but when she puts the book down, she makes up gymnastics routines in her head and has done it since she's a little girl.
Literally?
And oh, yeah. And sometimes in the morning, she'll wake up and tell me this new routine she came up with last night. Like, they're really, it's crazy, but she's an overthinker, and that's how she relaxes her mind. So
interesting. Yeah, Kennedy sent me something from TikTok. She watches a lot of these like little relationship, words of wisdom or whatever, and it was some whole spiel about dating an overthinker. And it was all, complimentary sort of things, but there was just one little thing in there where it said something like an overthinker will assign a unique ringtone to your text so they know it's you and, they don't want to miss it. And she's like, I have done that. She has her own ringtone for her own texting.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I don't consider myself an overthinker for the most part, and I do that. Certain people have their special ringtones, Yeah. But the reason I bring up your overthinking is because I was reading this article about the unexpected downside of high intelligence. The first thing on there is overthinking, and I thought of you immediately. I was like, oh, we got to talk about this on the show, dude. So that is the sign of high intelligence. Overthinking. Highly intelligent individuals often have a tendency to overanalyze situations, leading to decision paralysis or unnecessary stress or a positive outcome.
Yeah, I mean, there is the paralysis by analysis. You can certainly overthink things to the point where you're not doing anything at all. But I don't see how you could be a great mind, quote unquote, without overthinking. Like, are you just some sort of savant that just learned how to split an atom while you were just having your breakfast? It just came to me. Like, I think you have to analyze things if you want to have some greatness.
See, you know what? I would look through my friend list. I think that everybody has their expertise of, you're highly intelligent when it comes to even like comic books or, vintage stuff. Yeah. It doesn't all have to be, in quotes, useful. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel like a lot of my knowledge is a little useless. I mean, except for what we use it for pop culture and random, things, but I don't think I sit around analyzing the tax code or something that could help my life in an overt way. How to plan for grocery shopping. There's a good example. I grocery shop about 6 days a week because I am incapable of planning it any further than that. I would rather go to the grocery store 6 days a week and spend $100 at a time. If I go to the store once a week and I spend $600, I will have a heart attack.
But you wouldn't spend that much if you went once a week. That's the art of shopping once a week. Now, bear in mind, I don't like to do it either because I like to, what do I feel like today? Or what do I want to make today? But it is a money saver if you shop once a week.
Why? What am I saving? I don't get it.
Well, because you know what, you can come up with recipes. First of all, you got to come up with what you're going to make for dinner, right? 6 times or 7 times. And
Which
when
is
you,
funny because I can only cook about 6 or 7 things, yet still I can't plan the weekend.
well, dude, you should definitely be able to do that. Here's the thing. This is just a small example. If you're going to make chicken sandwiches on Tuesday and you get buns, well, then you know on Thursday you're making hamburgers, so you can use the rest of the buns for that. It's planning around your meals, you know.
I feel like I kind of do that already. Because then I look in the cupboard, I'm like, I got hot dog buns already. I should probably do another thing that I can use those for.
There you go.
So I don't know.
Well, you're just showing how highly intelligent you are. Even when it comes to poor behavior, you're smart about it. So
I think it's selective. I think it's what you show people. There's a line in one of the Avengers movies where Black Widow is this, espionage spy woman. And she said something to the effect of, I know enough about every topic to sound conversational. I don't know enough to be an expert on it, but I can sound intelligent.
what a gift to have. Right. That's a great gift.
I feel like I don't open my mouth if I don't have a good answer. I'll just sit there silently, but if I know something, then you just assume I know many things.
That's why you and I work together, because I am curious, dude. I will open my mouth if I don't know jack shit about something because I want to know, So we're a good pair, dude. I don't know. Maybe in a different world, dude, we could have been something. We could have been something romantic. I'm telling you.
Something in this world. So
yeah. As we go through the list here, these are unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. The next one here is difficulty in finding peers. Difficulty in finding peers. Due to their intellectual depth, highly intelligent people may struggle to find like-minded individuals to connect with on a similar intellectual level. Find that to be true?
It's a good question. Not consciously. I mean, I do have a pretty short list of actual friends, and I don't think any of you are flaming morons. So this sort of goes back to, speaking of me overthinking and having things ready to say when they come up, this whole, when two people say the same thing and you say, oh, great minds think alike, right?
Right.
I don't agree with that. I think great minds do not think alike. That's why they're great minds. I think similar minds think alike.
Yeah.
I think that's why birds of a feather flock together. Like, you just sort of naturally gravitate. I don't know that I've ever been like, boy, that guy's a moron, I'm not going to be his friend. Or that guy's way too smart, I'm not going to be their friend. It's like, if you're in that similar vibe, you're just going to sort of congregate together.
That's interesting. I do have a couple of idiots in my life, that I love, But, I would tend to think that I enjoy being around intelligent people more, but once in a while, an idiot is just a good time,
If I meet an idiot, it's never going to grow into anything.
But think about this, dude. An idiot can be fun just for a day. Like, I hung out with the idiot on Saturday. We had a blast, He's just an idiot.
I think we've had some producers in our background that I would put in that category. And I'm not even referring to the most recent one. I'm talking about edgy. Okay, I'll just say it.
Yeah,
I don't think he was any Einstein, but he was kind of fun to hang around with.
Yeah, it takes all types, Steve.
Yes.
As we continue down the list, I know that I have this one. I'm not saying that I'm intelligent. I'm just saying, this works for me. Imposter syndrome. This is a list of unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. You ever have imposter syndrome about anything?
It's a good question. The Hindenburg, an X or two back, was riddled with that. And I never understood it. She felt like she was an imposter in her work and her degrees and all that stuff. And I always struggle with it because you earned the degree, you got the job, like you're doing it. Why do you feel like you're an imposter? There are certain times in my life where I sort of wonder, how did I stumble into this opportunity? But I don't feel like I'm an imposter. I didn't earn it or anything. And I also subscribe to fake it till you make it opportunities in life that have been presented to me. And my answer is, yep, I can do that. Knowing damn well, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to figure it out.
You're going to figure it out. Yeah.
Right. But do you feel like you suffer from imposter syndrome?
Not frequently, but I have before at different times in my life. And maybe when you and I have got a big opportunity on the radio, to fill in for a morning show for a month or, whatever it might be. When we got syndicated nationally, like I would think to myself, I'm in the deep end of the pool, dude. Do I know how to swim this well? Maybe not imposter, but like, am I ready for this shit?
It's interesting because those same moments are where I felt like, boy, how did I stumble into this? There were many times where we were out on that balcony at the radio stations in Seattle, and I was just like, I don't know how I stumbled into this, but look at this. I mean, here we are. We're doing it. We're doing this talk show. We're downtown Seattle. The Space Needle's right there. Like, I didn't feel like I earned it per se, but I felt like, we put the plan in motion and we did it. I feel like I'm a little dumb lucky. But not an imposter. I feel like we had the skills to do it, or we wouldn't have been able to make that come to fruition.
I know Rachel has felt imposter syndrome before, and it's all been in like the big moments or anything she's achieved, all the kind of stuff we were just talking about. And she has felt like, am I lucky, or am I actually doing this good? I think people feel it. It's obviously an insecurity on some level of, how did I get here, dude? I mean, do I deserve to be here? And most of the time, you said you don't think about all the work we did. Like, we definitely deserve to be there. But that's only half of it, right? Like, the other half is that timing, that luck. And maybe that's what makes us feel like an imposter.
Yeah, could be. I remember there was a board op at that talk station in Seattle. Short Bus, was that his name?
Yeah.
I remember when we got our big show in Seattle, he was the board op before us when we went in there live. And he made a comment to me one night of, boy, you guys got your own talk show? I'm going to go talk to the boss and get me one of those too. Like, I should get a talk. I'm like, do you understand how much fucking work we have done to get to this moment? Like, we didn't just go knock on the boss's door and say, hey, sign us up. We'd like a talk show. Like,
right.
For years of demo tapes and auditions and this and that. And so, yeah, F you. But I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, but I always do feel like when I reach one of those moments, I always feel like it's fleeting. Like, it's when I was in the rock band and we would be up on stage in front of a sold out crowd, I'd have this moment of like, we're living the dream. But I was always afraid it would go away. Same with like the stuff in Seattle. I'm like, this is the dream. Like, we're at the top. Like, you can almost only go down. And inevitably, it sort of does happen that way. I'd rather have it and lose it than never have it.
When we're feeling down in life, it's not a bad thing, because if we never felt down, we would never feel up. Like, there's got to be both sides to it, or that high does not feel nearly as good either. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. There's a psychological principle I learned years ago, I believe from another call-in radio talk show, actually, that once you've experienced something, that feeling of, when we were doing the talk show in downtown Seattle, phone lines were lighting up, or when I was on stage in the rock band, like, once you've experienced that feeling, it can never be taken away from you. And you can always do things to channel back to it. Like, when I listen back to our old shows, I remember what it felt like to be in the studio or to be on that stage. And it's not exactly the same thing, but it feels good to be able to channel those positive experiences.
100%. I love the thought of that, right? And you know what? This is interesting. I'll tell you this, just candidly. Like, that I'm a pretty open book. Like, I'll talk about anything, and especially like with you, like I would tell you anything, and it doesn't matter if it's real personal or not to me. Like, I would trust you with that. But I read somewhere in a book with letters and words,
so many words, I bet, right?
Many words. It was
all the words.
Big, beautiful book. But it talked about the fact that, it does you good. It does your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, everything good to have a few moments that you like, say with my dad, okay, before my dad passed away. Yeah. Like, he may have said something to me that I would, if you asked me about it, I would say like, oh, that one's just for the two of us. Like, it does you good to keep some of those personal, private moments to yourself, between you and one other person, because those are the moments you can go back to and really sink into. All of those other moments, we could do it, but somehow it'll escalate that feeling if your mind, your body, your heart, all that stuff knows that only one other person shared that moment with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty profound and very philosophical of you.
Right.
I sort of have this desire to share these things with somebody. I feel like it's not real if I don't verbalize it to somebody. It's why either my therapist comes in handy or this podcast comes in handy. Because I feel like both of those are platforms for me to share. It may be too inappropriate with other people or too boastful or something, but in these contexts, I feel once I've shared it, it's out there. Now it's tangible. It's real.
I would agree with that, dude. I don't know. And that's, by the way, what I just described to you. I've struggled with that because maybe for the same reason is because like I want to tell someone about it so they can take that journey with me of what I went through, or I don't know exactly why, but this was just saying you should try and do some of those moments and just see what they feel like when you go to recall them.
Maybe this is why I'm constantly monologuing in my brain. I got to share it with somebody, and why not myself?
Yeah. Right. We talk to ourselves all the time. That's on this list. These are unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. How about social isolation? Intellectual pursuits can sometimes lead to social isolation, as interests and conversations may diverge significantly from those of your peers. You may find yourself socially isolated.
Yeah. There's definitely some truth to that. There's been a lot of parties in my life where I don't feel like I'm dumb enough to have the fun that everyone else is having. Maybe I'm not drunk enough or something, but some people just really can just let loose and they just don't care what they look like, what they're saying, and crowd surfing or keg standing. I have a hard time letting loose to that extent unless I'm just absolutely drunk.
Right. Why do you think that is? Do you think because you are afraid to look silly, or what do you think it is?
I don't know. Part of it is definitely overthinking. I'm sitting there in the moment thinking like, these yahoos are all been fun. Like, I'll just sit back and observe, but I'm not going to go do whatever. I'm not going to run across the yard naked just because Larry's doing it and it looks hilarious or whatever.
Right. Part of the joy in our friendship has been in those uncomfortable moments is me trying to get you to engage in, whether it's a shoulder massage or a little oldies dance,
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's some context, again, like in the radio world where we've done some crazy public stunts and things where, whether it was me walking around Seattle dressed as Michael Jackson, the drunken basketball games we did against other talk shows. Like, if I have something to wrap my insecurities in, some mask, some facade, like I'm doing it for the radio, then I'll cut loose and I'll have a little fun. But it's because I'm somewhat disguised.
Yeah,
I will tell you too. Back in my younger band days, when I would trip, usually on mushrooms, once or twice on acid, but I would always dress up in some getup, some mask, some over-the-top outfit, because I felt like it gave me an excuse to be goofy and silly in public.
Well, and look where we are, dude. I mean, we made our living on the radio. It's more comfortable.
For sure. And any of those public stunts that I just mentioned, I mean, do you remember me shying away or saying this is too embarrassing? Or I'd say, no, I'm going to walk around Seattle dressed as Michael Jackson, live on the radio. But if it wasn't on the radio, no, I wouldn't do anything like that.
That's funny. Well, you cloak yourself in costume, and then it's no longer you. I guess it makes it a little easier. These are unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. Heightened sensitivity. Greater intelligence can lead to increased sensitivity to stimuli, both emotionally and environmentally, which may be overwhelming at times for the highly intelligent subject.
Yeah. I feel like not everyone, this is why liberals and conservatives don't usually get along. I feel like liberals have a little more intelligence. They're a little more dialed in to the world, to empathy, to sympathy. Like, conservatives, I often wonder, like, you don't think it's weird to discriminate against gay people or minorities or immigrants or something? Like, how does that not strike you as being bad, as being wrong? And I just have to think that it's either they're not thinking about it at all, or maybe they're just not intelligent enough to wrap their head around those complex issues, such as feeling bad for someone else who's being discriminated against.
It's funny that you bring that up because some of the people that I have talked to that don't believe in a lot of the things that I'm like, gosh, that's just being a good person, like they'll have compassion and empathy in other areas of their life. But when it comes to equality of, like, say for gay marriage, they may be like, no, because I don't have compassion for that. That's wrong. That's just something that's wrong. And I'm like, really? Why is that wrong? What is it causing you to do? Well, I don't want it to be thrown in my face. I was like straight marriage is thrown in everyone else's face. Like, this is how you look at things. And I think maybe you're right. I mean, people that are less compassionate and open about all the stuff that is just human rights, that is just about equality and treating people right, that's crazy, dude. Are you a dum-dum that you can't emotionally grab onto that and say, oh, yeah, this is just the right thing to do?
Yes. I've said for years, I wrote an article for the old Lefty Liberal website years ago, and I've held on to this notion that to be liberal is to be logical. I feel that all liberal principles are just based in logic, that science is real, and you don't discriminate against others, and we all deserve equality. And yet conservatives don't see it that way whatsoever.
Yeah. It's, because I think everything is based in the book of the Bible, right? So they're basing things around that they're told and that they have come to agree with little to no evidence, BT dubs. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that may be a sign of very high faith or lower intelligence.
It's a good point. I feel like a lot of conservative principles are based on ideology, something you feel is true, but may or may not be, versus liberal or progressive is based more on logic and facts. And they see it the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Which I'm smart enough to zoom out and go, well, gee, if they see it the opposite, and am I the wrong one? But again, I'm basing my stuff on principles, on logic, on facts, on science being real. Sorry, so we can't be the wrong ones.
No, come on, dude. We can't be the wrong ones. All of this stuff is studied and in books. And, I guess some of your stuff is in books too, but we look at it and it's crazy. For you guys to believe that QAnon stuff, well, it's just like the church, dude. A lot of the churches that bring you in and you believe in certain things, that's borderline abusive.
There's an interesting split screen. The rare times I flip back and forth from MSNBC to Fox News, like you got two professional broadcasters on two different channels that are both spewing their thing. But then I think all right, Rachel Maddow is a Rhodes Scholar. She's a highly educated woman. Sean Hannity is a college dropout with no degree whatsoever. If you zoom out just on those facts alone, one of them is highly educated, one of them is just blustering. So I think my faith is well placed.
Yeah, 100%. One of them is an entertainer, and one of them is a professor of knowledge in college, okay?
Yep, exactly.
Since you brought up Fox News, I'll just take a brief moment to invite Jesse Waters to suck it.
Yes, right.
Okay, we're going over a list right now of unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people, and perfectionism is the next one on the list. Striving for excellence can lead to perfectionism, where even minor imperfections are magnified, leading to being dissatisfied or anxiety. Is it true?
I do feel like I'm a bit of a perfectionist for sure, and I think that's a positive attribute.
Yeah.
It can be a little annoying sometimes. My little OCD tendencies or my wanting to go through every little detail of a report I'm writing up or summary I'm sending to a client or something. But again, I would rather err on the side of overthinking and making sure everything's right than just letting shit fly. And then you realize there was a stupid typo in there. You didn't attach the email. You look like a freaking idiot. So
right. Rachel will bring this up with me sometime. She's not a perfectionist in every area of her life, just certain areas. You see that with people. She notices when people aren't a perfectionist that why don't you understand and get that? That is so bush league. Do that. Like you're talking about. Don't ever send an email without punctuation or misspelled words. That's so easy.
Yeah. I also wonder, why do some of these people not understand that, okay, so maybe you're not a perfectionist, but don't you see the advantage of having one in your life? One that wants to meticulously clean the bathroom. Okay, you may find that weird, but hey, your bathroom's pretty freaking clean. Isn't that a bonus for everyone?
Right. The only thing I worry about with perfectionism is it affecting you, or is it affecting someone that I love that is being a perfectionist? Does it bother you?
Well, I think if you take it to like Rain Man level, where if somebody moves my coaster, I have a literal meltdown, then obviously that's no good. But as you and I were talking about before the show today, I have a long history with you. Kennedy's doing it now. People in my life that just like to maybe move something a little or maybe put something new there. Just see how long does it take Harness to notice. And you're all amazed that it takes literally almost no time whatsoever. I walk in a room and I can just tell, like, that's not right.
That's not right.
Right. And is that bad, or do I just have an organized house? Like, I don't know.
It's very organized. This next one on the list, it'll be interesting to see and hear your thoughts. These are unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. Difficulty in accepting criticism. High intelligence can sometimes be coupled with a heightened sensitivity to criticism, making it challenging to receive feedback constructively. This is an interesting one for me. I'd like to start with your thoughts.
Okay. Well, if what you're saying is stupid, then no, I don't need your critique. You know, there are some things, some topics where I truly appreciate when somebody pushes back on me, because I either want to, test my validity, like is what I'm saying. If I can't defend it, then it can't be that solid. But also, like, am I not thinking of something? Because again, this is what being a progressive is supposed to be. You're supposed to evolve and not just be locked into one place. So on the occasions where I feel like I'm talking to somebody intelligent that has something intelligent to add, I enjoy that. I don't want to be painted as someone who's just locked in a corner. I do not want to hear new information.
Right.
But if there is a topic that I feel that I'm an expert on or I have life experience on, like, I'm not going to let you talk me out of it or back me down or get me to say, well, I guess we can agree to disagree. No, I know that this is the right answer, and I'm going to beat it into your brain.
When Steve and I were growing up throughout our career, like, we had to sit down and do a thing in radio that's just called an air check. And it's basically like sitting at a desk across from your programmer, and they'll play a copy on a tape of you from the radio and then pause it throughout to critique and give you ideas. Do you think you could do those now at 48 years old?
I could lead them. I can tell you that. So it's a really good point you bring up, because, Nick and I in Seattle, especially, we had some bosses that would, this was part of being a DJ. You would sit down and have these weekly air check sessions. And there were some formatical things or some advice that we got that I thought, like, okay, that's actually a good note. That might actually help me sculpt my breaks or whatever better. But we also had two bosses in particular that I had heard on the air, and they sucked. And it's hard to have somebody critiquing your professional work when I know you can't do what I'm doing.
Right.
There was a time at the Good Time Oldies, I made a joke on air about, I think I was playing the Beatles. And I said something like, the Beatles were the original NSYNC. They were the first boy band to hit it big. So, here's the 60s version of NSYNC with Love, Love Me Do. And he went off on me of like, why are you mentioning NSYNC? That's completely off format. That is not correct. Who's relating to NSYNC? And I'm like, I connected the dots pretty thoroughly. Like, everyone knows who NSYNC is. Like, this is your critique, that you don't like that I mentioned something modern in our oldies format?
For all the kids that are in their car with their parents, like, I mean, that's a great relatable is what we would call that, right?
So I just disagreed fundamentally with what he was saying. And we had definitely times at the Buzz, you may recall, there was one meeting where Sergeant Hair Club had these critiques where I'm just like, we do 4 hours of talk radio, and you're going to nitpick me on this one dumb little thing that you are even admitting, like, you thought it was funny, but you just personally didn't like it or something. And there was a meeting where I sat there after he said some dumb critique of us. I just sat there staring at him, just staring, not blinking, just
right.
Wouldn't break eye contact with him for the rest of the meeting. And at the end of the meeting, he was like, hey, Nick, could you step out of the office for a second? Oh, he went off on me. You ever sit here in my office staring holes through my head again, I will throw you out of this building so goddamn fast. I'm just like, you don't really like it when someone pushes back on you, huh? For the guy that was never on air, and the few times he was never on air, he was never a talk show host or a DJ.
No.
And occasionally he would go on the other talk shows and make some announcement, and he sounded stiff, boring. He could not in a zillion years do what we do, sit here and talk for hours at a time. So I was just like, I don't really want to hear from you. Like, if you got some formatical thing that makes sense, but otherwise, stop with your nitpicking. 4 hours we do. You can't do that.
You know what? Most of the good programmers would realize that, like, I'm not going to comment on this little bullshit because it's the big things that we're here to discuss, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I noticed there was a theme. It was the things that made him feel dumb that, you know, somehow he didn't like that joke. I made a joke once about Brown University. Brown does not have like a football team or anything, but it's an Ivy League school. You have to be very intelligent to get into Brown. Sure. And my cousin was going there at the time we were doing the show then. And I made some comment about Brown that if you've never heard of Brown, it's because you're too stupid to get into it. He went off on us. Why are you making that joke about Brown University? Too stupid to get into it. I'm like, did you get rejected to Brown? Is that
right? Yeah. No. He took a lot of things personal. Dude.
Yes, I touched a nerve with him, and that's what he's going to spend our professional critiquing time on.
Critiquing is a funny thing, dude. I mean, like you said, I'm all good learning from somebody and receiving new ideas. When you start to attack the way that I do things, I guess that's when I have an issue. But if it's just like constructive criticism or feedback, you know, well, I'll take it for 20 minutes, but 25, like I start to get, it's a little too much. Okay. Give me a break.
And dissecting humor never works. It's the old, if I have to explain the joke, it's not funny. So don't sit here and dissect the joke. Like, it's just not good.
As we continue to talk about behaviors that are downsides of highly intelligent people, let's go to the next, shall we?
Waiting for the comment section to be on here. Because reading you idiots' comments out there, that is a downside of having some level of intelligence.
Sometimes, dude, I just wonder, like, you know what? If you're just making comments quickly on social media, if you misspell a word or use there with the wrong spelling at the wrong time, like, I'm obviously going to notice, but I'm not going to jump your shit for it. But some of these comments, dude, they are riddled all the way through with all of this shit. And I'm just like, hey, did you go to school? Have you learned anything?
I said that to someone recently in our comments. They kept using the word y'all, which I know has become a word because rednecks have made it one, but it's not really a word. So I made a comment of something to the extent of like, at what point in your life did you just decide to give up on good grammar? Like what? How old were you? You just said like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to use y'all. I know it's not a word, but I don't care. I reject society. I reject the old adage that we should all use good grammar and punctuation.
Well, this is a great topic because is y'all not a word?
No.
I mean, why is they'll go to the store together a word?
Because the Oxford English Dictionary deemed it so at some point. It's just like ain't never was a word, but it became so prevalent that now it's in the dictionary. Now I guess it is a word. Same with y'all. It's probably in the dictionary now. But even if you're going, because here's the problem. You all is already a conjunction. Is that what those are called? It's Y-O-U apostrophe L-L. You'll. So if you change it to Y-A apostrophe L-L, it's just completely wrong. It's still saying you all, but you're spelling it wrong. You're using it in a southern redneck cowboy sort of way.
No, but when you say you'll, it's you will instead of you all.
Well, you can still do you all. Y-O-U apostrophe L-L means you all.
No, it means you'll.
You'll have fun at the concert tonight. You all will have fun at the concert tonight.
I've never looked at it that way. You overthinker, you.
I will take bad grammar, though, as an opportunity to criticize somebody because you give me an easy in.
Yeah.
Make some, you think you're making some dumb or some intelligent comment, but you can't figure out the correct there.
Right.
I will often comment, you don't know the difference between there and there, so why am I paying any attention to you?
Yeah, right. I stopped reading. I stopped believing you as soon as I got to that. These are unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. Difficulty in letting go. Intelligent individuals may find it hard to let go of thoughts or problems, often ruminating on them longer than necessary.
Yeah, listen, that's a legitimate one for sure. I have a hard time letting things go as far as debates go and whatnot. Or just even, life things like the to-do list or whatever. Like I do ruminate on these things way too much. There was some comedian I saw, it's making the rounds on TikTok a lot, where he was saying that, I'm a liberal. I'm not proud of it. Like it's really more work than it's worth. We're always learning new things. He's like, it must be so fun to be a conservative. You don't have to learn anything new. You don't have to climate change. That's not real, right? You don't have to think about anything. How nice must that be?
That's funny and so true. Like, yeah, that's great.
So yeah, there's a little burden to, to being able to think about things.
There's a few people in my life that are politically so stupid, and I think to myself often, like, my life would be so much easier if I could walk around so ignorant. You know, just like, I don't know. So yeah, maybe you got something there.
Ignorance is bliss, right? That's got to be what that means.
Yes. This is an interesting one. Existential angst is on the list of downsides of highly intelligent people. Deep intellectual contemplation can sometimes lead to existential angst, pondering the meaning of life, existence, morality. You look deep in thought as I was reading that, dude. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I feel like it's a burden, but I do spend a lot of time pondering the universe and pondering religion and pondering science and how it all comes together. And I do try to wrap my head around some of these things. I think I've come up with some pretty intelligent answers as to how we're reincarnated or what ghosts might be. It's science-based in my world that, you know, the particulates of matter that we all are, science says you can't create or destroy matter. It can only change form. So it makes sense to me that when we die, the essence of what we are must go into the world somehow, and that could be repurposed into another human, maybe a little piece of me, maybe a lot of me. Maybe that's why we feel like we've been someone before. What is a ghost? Maybe some of that unresolved matter is still floating around from someone that died. Like, yeah, I spend a lot of time on thinking about these things. And,
yeah, you do.
Maybe it's a little bit of a burden, but I don't know. Feels good to stretch the mental muscle and to try to wrap your head around things that a lot of people feel, ghosts must be real or something. Like, okay, It sounds hokey to just think there's some white sheet walking around your house, but maybe there is a scientific basis to what a ghost could be. I do think about these things.
It's funny, dude. I know this happens for a lot of people. I've heard it frequently. Okay, so I'll just use myself as an example to start it out. But like when my dad died, or before my dad died, he told my mom at some point, he was like, you know what, if I could be any animal, I would want to be an eagle. I would just like to know what it's like to soar around up there, So after he died, like right after he died, and we were at the funeral park, an eagle flew over us. So like right away, we're just like, guess, dad saying hello, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Why does it become so? Are those things really happening, or are we just noticing them? My brother, when my niece died, she was in the hospital for a while, and she had on the sheet when they removed her body, she had bled in a perfect heart. Well, all these hearts start popping up everywhere. Like, crazy places. Like when you pour the cream into your coffee, it makes a heart, or on your toast, or just a leaf in the shape of a heart. Are we just noticing them? Or do you think that matter that you're talking about floating around the world is actually doing these things?
I'm going to give you a very unsatisfying answer that both of those things are probably correct.
Okay. Right.
It's I heard somebody talking about this recently on the interweb, the red car theory or whatever it was called, that if I asked you right now, how many red cars did you see today, Nick? I don't know. Like, I'm not paying attention. But now as soon as I tell you that, now you're going to start to notice red cars. Obviously, They're out there on the road already, but now you're noticing them. Yeah. I thoroughly, as I've discussed here, I try to find scientific or practical reasons or explanations to these things in the world. But I also am a believer in signs. That the universe will point you in the right direction if you're looking for these signs. I've seen too many in my life to think that they're coincidence. But can you overanalyze things? Yes. Can you start to try to consciously find signs in everything? Yeah, for sure. But that doesn't mean that some of them aren't legitimate.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Distinguish that, I have no idea. But but I believe that.
I think I believe that too. And you know what? It's interesting to me that sometimes the timing of these signs are so odd. If I was just driving and I saw an eagle, I'd be like, oh, hey, hi, Dad, or think of him, But like if I'm having a terrible day, or say I just rear-ended somebody and the eagle flies over my windshield, like that's weird timing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Who
I
knows?
think you have to know how to look for the signs, and it's not an exact art. The movie Signs by M. Night Shyamalan is a movie that resonates with me. It's a movie about aliens, but that's not what it's about at all. That's not what it's about at all. It's about looking for the signs. You know, Mel Gibson, he was a preacher, had all these terrible things happen in his life, and always wondered why did they happen. It gave up his faith in religion and God. And then the culmination at the end of the movie is he starts to realize some of these things were signs. And now that he sees them, he can see, you know, he saves the day by recognizing the signs. Obviously, it doesn't mean that everything in the universe is a sign to you. But if you're paying attention, and maybe it's because you're paying attention, you assign some meaning to it, and then that unlocks something in your brain. You know, I mean, there could be some logic to it that way.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster?
A long time ago, not recently. That was an alien movie, right?
It was an alien movie that also dealt with this type of energy out in the universe of love and different signs and stuff like that. I recommend that movie to anybody. It's an older movie, but that movie left me ponderous for a long time.
Interesting. I highly recommend Star Wars. I think it's the correct religion.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true. You know, at some level.
Listen, I've said that jokingly for years, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. It speaks to my theory about the universe is made up of energy, and some people are dialed into it more than others. Some people can actually touch it and manipulate it.
Yeah.
To those that can't do it, they're going to think that's hokey. Like when a lot of people look at psychics, like you're full of crap. Like some psychics are full of crap, absolutely, but some are dialed into that.
Yeah.
We've had too many experiences where a psychic or a medium has said things that either are true or become true, so they can't all be fake. And that's what the Jedi is. They're tapped into the good and the bad of the universe, and they're able to tangibly touch it and control it. And I think there's some accuracy to that.
Maybe you should get the licensing, dude, and create a church. Is it doable? We'll see.
The U.S. military recognizes Jedi as a religion. That's not a joke.
It's not?
No. I had read an article a couple years ago about it. It was some general that was being interviewed. And I don't remember the context of how he set it up, but it was something about that, who am I to judge? You know, if you think this religion is right or that one is right, maybe there's some elements crossing over. And he was like, we have 9 legitimate Jedis in the army right now. Like, that's their recognized religion, and we recognize it. Because how can you sit back and say, like, all right, we're going to recognize Catholicism or Buddhism, but screw that one you've come up with. Like, that one's hokey, you know?
Yeah, I suppose so. But also at the same time, don't ask, don't tell. Like, you got a problem with that, and you're allowing Jedi into your religious beliefs. Like, it's
Jedis are badass, though. Maybe that's why the Army's okay with that. So.
Yeah, I guess so. These are unexpected downsides of highly intelligent people. Feeling misunderstood is the next on our list. Being ahead of others intellectually can lead to the feeling of being misunderstood and not fully appreciated for one's ideas or perspectives.
I feel like that every time we post a video of this podcast. Listen, I mean, there's some people that resonate with what we're talking about and get it, but it is so disheartening to put out a well thought out, you know, little segment that we've done or something we think is intelligent or thought provoking, and just have these conservative morons. It just falls on deaf ears, and you know you're right, or you know you're on to something. But then to have, human beings spit it back at you that you're some cult leading moron, that you're brainwashed, you're in an echo chamber, like, boy, you guys don't get it at all. It's depressing to me.
Yeah, you know, you hear the term a lot, like, will you be on the right side of history? And there is a grouping of people that will fail to be on the right side of history. And I'm not in that group, dude. I know that for a fact, okay? And as we look at our political landscape right now with all of these undecideds, all of these Republicans that are saying, yeah, I was conned, you know, I took the snake oil, I drank it, I realize it now. Like, people are starting to understand that, oh yeah, I'm not on the right side of history, dude. This isn't right anymore.
Yeah. It's the classic question of, does a crazy person know they're crazy? And I've come to realize they do not know they're crazy.
Which is hard for a sane person to wrap their mind around, right? Because we're in so much control.
Yeah. You can't objectively see any of these things you're doing are weird, crazy, not right. But no, they don't. I will tell you, one of the most satisfying phone calls we ever got at the radio station, and this was overnights at the oldies, Nick did 7 to midnight. I did midnight 5, so we were up all night. We used to hang out at the radio station and take phone calls from people in Seattle. We got in all sorts of discussions and debates and topics. I went off on people about religion many, many, many times, right?
Yes, I would say that. I was putting it lightly. So
Yes. One time, I had a woman call me and say, "Boy, 4 or 5 months ago, I was talking to you, your DJ buddy there, and you were going off about religion, and I've been thinking about it, and I think you're right. I've given up on religion. Like, I can see now how manipulative it is and how it's a fairy tale. How did I believe in that? I could not believe that somebody took what I said to heart and actually thought about it for weeks or months and had a life-changing epiphany. Like, that never happens. But boy, it was crazy to actually hear someone admit it.
you're right. I mean, that hardly ever happens where people, especially with something that's so personal and it's the way I lead my life, that's very infrequently happens. But did you feel accomplished, or did you feel a sense of responsibility after she told you that? Like, I hope I led her in the right direction, or you knew you did?
Well, I knew I led her in the right direction, so I didn't feel bad about it per se.
Yeah.
It's, some people I think do grow up or are raised in a bubble. And when you introduce new information, some people are open to it and they actually will process it and they may come around to a whole new conclusion, but most people do not, for sure. And by the way, there was a couple of people we talked to on the phone about religion, and I realized your belief in God is the only reason you're not raping and murdering and robbing. So you know what? Jesus is real. He's watching you. Don't screw up.
There's people who need it, dude. I mean, there are people who need it. Like, I know one of your theories that I believe a lot is that's why they came up with some of this stuff, is to keep people course corrected and to keep people doing the right thing in life. So
yeah, some people won't do the right thing unless they're scared of what would happen if they don't. Like, I just think like I have a good moral compass. I think my kids do. I don't need the fear of burning in hell to not go murder someone. But yeah, some of you do. So hold on to that. You're right. You're going to hell.
We got to live on the same planet together. So please go.
Yeah, the unruly masses back in the day, there was no moral compass. You just had to convince them. Some guy in the sky is watching you. So be on your best behavior.
Steve, I find you so intelligent that I think maybe this is an unexpected downside that you struggle with, and it is small talk. Do you have difficulty making small talk just because you're so damn smart?
I don't know that the smart thing. And by the way, you're just inflating my ego way too much today, so I appreciate that. Yeah. Small talk is difficult. I feel our broadcasting background is what makes it easy for me because I'm good at interviewing people and keeping a conversation going and thinking of follow-up questions and all that. If I didn't have that skill set, I would be terrible at it. I remember in like high school being terrible talking to girls on the phone, like petrified and having no idea what to do. And it was my mom who first taught me, like, you got to listen to what they're saying and try to think of something that follows up with that and think of what your next question's going to be, but still pay attention to what they're talking about.
And she taught you to have a conversation. That's fascinating, dude.
Yeah. And it's what makes a good interviewer. You always want to know what your next question is, but you got to pay attention to what the conversation is now, or you're going to miss follow-up questions and whatnot. And we were talking on the last episode about people reading off teleprompters, that it's not so easy. A lot of people sound like they're reading, and that's no good. The first girl on the phone that I ever, after my mom gave me that advice, I jotted down a few questions of like what I can ask her, so that I had my next question ready. And at one point, after a question or two, the woman said to me, the girl, she was like, "Are you reading something? It sounds like you're reading something."
Oh boy,
like she totally busted me because we're having a conversation. That's a good point. And so what is your favorite color on the rainbow? Like, it was like so obvious I was referring to a list. So yeah.
Did you lie to her and be like, "No, I'm not reading. What are you talking about?"
Oh, I tried. Yeah, I think it was pretty clear I was lying, but yeah.
So funny.
Good stuff.
This is my last one I'm going to ask you about because I don't think that you have some of these. High expectations. Is that on your list because you have high intelligence? Is it a downside for you that you have high expectations?
I don't know what that's the result of. Is it intelligence or just aspiration? I mean, I do have high expectations of myself and others in my world.
Yeah.
Whether romantic interest or my kids or whatever. Like, I think settling on mediocrity is a little sad. I don't know if that's intelligence or just some ambition or drive that's in some of us and others clearly not. One of my first jobs in life was in a factory. I hated it. It was so mundane. It was so brain numbing. But there were other people, they loved how mundane it was. They told me, like, I had to sit here for 8 hours. I don't have to think about a damn thing. And they loved that. And
Did you worked in a tuna factory?
No, it was a stationary factory. So we